Hi everybody, it's Courtney with Fiber Fox Studios, and today we're going to work on a really pretty stitch pattern that you can do a cowl in, as the thumbnail shows. And I'm working on a poncho as well, so I'll be adding that information and updating the thumbnail once I finish my poncho. But I wanted to show this to you real quick. So this is the right side of the project. I chose this worsted weight size 4 medium weight yarn to do this in a 6mm hook, and that's for the cowl that's shown currently. And I'm going to be using a size 3 to do my poncho, but this is the back side of the project. So all you are doing here is front post and back post, double crochets and chain stitches. That is it, and that makes up this really beautiful pattern. As you can see, it's got kind of a 3D effect, and if I kind of stretch it out, you can see there's just minimal holes in this one. Not a lot of air passing through. I think it's going to be a really warm option for the poncho. That's why I'm making one. So I will have all the information down below in the description on the different things that you can do with this, as far as your starting chain counts and any additional information I feel would be helpful. That will be down below in the description. Before you get started on this project, please make sure that you give this video a thumbs up. And if you would like, you can leave a comment below to let me know what you think about this stitch. And if you are not already subscribed, please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my tutorials or other content. So before we jump into showing the actual stitch and how you do it, I wanted to show you this piece right here. This is my cowl. And like I said, I chose a worsted weight yarn. This is actually a heathered yarn. It's Stitch Studio by Nicole, which is, you know, AC Moore brand that we can't get anymore, or about to not be able to get for some of us. And the yarn has got a very light little bit of heathering to it. I know that the camera's not picking that up, but it does show it in person, but it's very mild effect. So that is a great yarn. Any solid yarn, any heathered yarn, those would be great yarns for this type of stitch, because we want to really showcase the depth and everything of this and how it looks three-dimensional and has all this dimension to it. So we want to make sure that our yarn is not too busy. So I'm going to show y'all another option that you can use, and that is right here. This is Mandala. This is in the colorway, goodness, what is that colorway? Can't remember right now. I'll put it on screen. But this one right here is color changing because it's Mandala. And this is a size 3, so it's a little bit smaller. But I use this 5mm hook on this, and you can still see the dimension and all. But with the really pretty color change, how it's the long color transitions, it looks great in this stitch. You can still see everything that you want to see about this stitch. Now let's look at one that you don't want to use. So I'm showing you guys this because it can really be just make it or break it on some projects depending on the yarn that you choose. So this is the exact same stitch, and I'm going to stretch it apart so you guys can see. I mean, it's the same thing, but this is done in the yarn. I love this yarn, Prince. And it is colorway Snapdragon, and this is a really pretty yarn. It's a variegated yarn, as you can see there, but it is extremely busy, and you really cannot see the stitch work anymore. All that depth and dimension is gone, and even in person, it's not showing. This is not just like a trick of the camera type thing. You just really, it gets lost in all that color. I mean, it's a pretty yarn, but it is not the right type of yarn for this type of project with this type of stitch. So you want to be careful and avoid any of the variegated or extremely busy yarns. Now, they have some, you know, flex and speckled yarn and stuff like that. I think those would all be fine for this project. I think they would look beautiful. The extreme busy, variegated, quick, short color changes. I mean, you're getting no more than just a few inches, sometimes just an inch of color. Those are ones you're going to want to avoid. It will end up looking like a hot mess. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the tutorial now that I've showed you guys that. And we're going to start by doing a slip knot on our hook. So To do a slip knot, for those who are brand new to crochet, you're going to hold your yarn in your hand. Here's the tail over here. And I personally like to just twist it around these two fingers. And then I like to bring it over. I just brought my working yarn over here in between my two fingers, pinch and pull back, and that makes my slip knot. Hopefully that was slow enough and good enough for you guys to see what I'm talking about. Make any type of slip knot you want though. You're going to get that yarn on your hook. I'm using a size millimeter because I am using a worsted weight. Refer down to the description for any other suggested sizes of yarn. You can definitely do this with small yarn. I just have not worked out those counts, so you will be on your own. But this stitch is done in a multiple of 11 plus 2 at the end. So we're going to start chaining. You're going to look down the description for the project that you're making and get your chain count, and you're just going to start chaining. So to chain, you're going to grab your yarn, pull it through the loop, grab your yarn, pull it through the loop on your hook, and just keep going like that until you've reached the desired number of chains for what you're going to make. And then we're going to meet back up. You're going to do this, I'm going to do 21 plus 2 to get started on my piece. You're going to chain what's listed down below, and then we're going to meet back up and we'll start row 1. So you're meeting back up with me now, and you've got the number of chains needed to start your project. So we're going to, all right, so we're going to wrap our yarn around our hook because we're going to be doing double crochets now. And to get started, we're going to skip the next 2 stitches. So we're going to skip, and go here into this third one and do our first double crochet. So pull through 2, pull through 2. And now we're going to wrap our yarn again, and we're going to do 2 more double crochets into the next 2 stitches. So you're going to insert your hook, grab your yarn, pull up a loop, grab your yarn, pull through 2, grab your yarn, pull through 2. And we're going to do this one more time. Insert, pull up a loop, grab our yarn, pull through 2, grab our yarn, and pull through 2. So this counts as 4 double crochets with this little chain here at the beginning, and we've got 3 double crochets, so we've got 4 double crochets at the beginning. We're going to be ending the row the same way, just kind of as a note. Now we're going to begin the repeat by wrapping our yarn in, pulling through the loop, doing 1 chain. So the chain 1 is your beginning of the repeat. Now we're going to go down here on our chain that we started with, and we're going to skip 1 stitch. And we're going to go right here into the very next, and we're going to do another double crochet. So we're going to insert, pull up a loop, grab our yarn, pull through 2, grab our yarn, and pull through 2. Now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to grab our yarn again. We're going to go back down in that same exact stitch. So we're going right there in the same stitch. We're going to squeeze in another double crochet. So we're going to insert and pull up a loop, grab our yarn, pull through 2, grab our yarn, and pull through 2. Now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip 1 stitch, and we're going to now do 8 double crochets in the next 8 stitches. So we're going to skip 1 stitch, and we're going to go immediately into this very next one, and we're going to do 8 double crochets into the next 8 stitches. So there's my first double crochet. Now I'm going to wrap again. I'm going to go into the very next stitch and do another double crochet. Now I'm going to wrap my yarn again, insert into the very next stitch, and do another double crochet. I'm going to wrap my yarn again, go into the very next stitch, and I'm going to do a double crochet. So I've got 4. I've got to have 8 total, so I'm going to wrap again. I'm going to go into the very next stitch, and I'm going to do another double crochet. That's number 5. Wrap again, go into the next one. Here's number 6. Wrap again, go into the very next stitch with number 7. And last but not least, we're going to go one more time into the very next stitch, and we're going to do number 8. And that is the end of the repeat. So you're going to continue on down your row. Your chain 1, and then you're going to skip 1. You're going to do a double crochet, chain 2, double crochet, all into the same stitch, chain 1, skip 1 stitch down here, and then you're going to do 8 double crochets all the way across in the next 8 stitches, and continue on down till you have 4 or 5 stitches left here, chains on your foundation row, and we will meet back up and finish out together. So you can go ahead and pause the video here, and you'll meet back up with me in just a moment, and we'll finish out this row 1. All right, so you're meeting back up with me. You're at the end of your row. I have a chain 1 on my hook right now. So I've done a chain 1 already. I'm going to skip 1, and now I'm going to work 4 double crochets into the last 4 chains. So here's my first one. 1 double crochet. Here's my second. 2 double crochet. And here is my third. And last but not least, we're going to go here into the very last chain and do our 4th double crochet. So your work is going to look like this so far, only a lot bigger than mine since you are doing the full project. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move up to row 2, and we're going to be doing all the way up. I believe it's about 13 rows I'm going to be doing with you guys, so you can get the full transition of this. But we're going to go ahead and move up to the next row. This is going to be row 2 in this case, and we're going to chain 3 to move up. 1, 2, and 3. And now we're going to turn our work, and we're going to start doing our front post double crochets now. So if you've never done a front post double crochet, you are going to wrap your yarn around your hook, and then you're going to want to kind of spread your work apart if you're having trouble seeing what you're doing. But this chain 3 is counting as our first double crochet, so we are not going to work into this very first stitch. We're going to go right here into the very next one, or around it, and we're going to wrap our yarn like we're going to do a regular normal double crochet. So wrap it around your hook, and then you're going to come in right here beside the stitch we want to work. So we want to work this one. So we're going to come in right here, and then we're going to come out over on the other side. So we're going to work around that stitch. So we're going to grab our yarn, and we're going to pull up a loop just like a normal double crochet. We're going to grab our yarn again, pull up and pull through 2, grab our yarn again and pull through 2. So if you take a look, you can see it's making this stitch kind of pop out. If you look from the side, it's now kind of making it pull forward and pop out. So now we're going to do that again on the very next double crochet. So we're going to go right here, and we're going to do another front post double crochet, and I'm going to grab and kind of pull this so you guys can see a little bit better. So we're going to grab right here, we're going to wrap our yarn, and we're going to work around this stitch now. So I'm going to go right here in between beside the 2 stitches, and I'm going to go underneath this one. So I'm just coming underneath it. I'm going to grab my yarn, and I'm going to pull up a loop just like I normally would for a double crochet. I'm going to grab my yarn and pull through 2, and then I'm going to grab my yarn and pull through 2. Take a look at that. All right, so now for this row, we're going to be chaining 1, and this begins our repeat, and we're going to come over here to this kind of V stitch that we made. This is our double crochet, chain 2, double crochet into the same stitch, and we are going to be skipping this double crochet right here. We're going to skip this chain. We're going right here into this area, and we're going to do 10 double crochets right here around that chain 2. So you're going to insert and pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, and you're going to continue on until you've done 10 into this section. So I'm going to go ahead. This is number 2 double crochet, number 3, number 4, number 5. So you're just doing a total of 10 double crochets right here in that chain 2 space. So working right around that chain 2. Where are we at here? I've got 7. Here's 8. Here's 9. And 10. And then you're going to go back and count your stitches because you just want to make sure that you're doing the number that you need. And for counting these, best thing I can say is kind of always pull this other work to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So now we're going to chain one again. And down here, we're now at the section where we have our 8 double crochets in a row. We're going to wrap our yarn and we're going to start doing our front post double crochets again. We are going to skip this very first double crochet. So we're skipping that. And we're going to go right here to the very next one. And now we're going to work around it. So I'm going to insert my hook right there beside and bring it up on the other side of the double crochet we want to work. And I'm going to grab my yarn and pull up a loop. Now I'm going to grab my yarn and pull through 2, grab my yarn and pull through 2. So other than the placement, the actual stitch itself is exactly the same. We're going to continue on. We're going to do this a total of 6 times. So we're going to be skipping this last double crochet down here. We're not going to work around that. So we're going to come and do, again, we're going to do our second one. We're going to go right around that stitch, the very next one. And we're going to go ahead and do the front post double crochet. Now we're going to go to the very next stitch right here. We're going to go in right beside it. We're going to come up underneath it. And we're going to pull up a loop. And complete out that double crochet. And that's how you do your front post double crochets. So, I mean, it's just the placement of where you're grabbing and putting your yarn through. And it pulls those stitches forward. So if you take a look, you can see the ones I haven't worked versus the ones that I have. And kind of bring it up. All right, so I've done 4 and I need a total of 6 for this. Here's number 5. And right here, gonna work number 6. And that is the end of the repeat for this row. So you're going to continue on. You're going to chain 1. You're going to put 10 double crochets in these V-like stitches right here. Chain 1 and then do your 6 front post double crochets, making sure to skip and not work the first and the last double crochet in the 8 double crochet section. So you're just going to work 6. So we're working in the middle basically. So skip that first one, don't work the last one, complete 6, and you're going to continue on down. And we were going to meet back up when you have your last 4 double crochets, and we'll meet back up at that point and work those together. So you're going to go ahead and pause here and come back and meet up with me at the end of your row. All right, so you're meeting back up with me. You're at your end of your row. This is what your work's looking like so far. So I've just completed the 10 double crochets into that chain 2 space. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 1. And now we're here at the end of the row, and we're going to be working into these last 4, what's counting as 4 double crochets. So we're going to wrap our yarn and we're going to skip this very first double crochet, and we're going to go right there beside it and grab up the next one and do our front post double crochet. So we're going to do 1 right there. And now we're going to wrap our yarn again, and we've got another double crochet right here. We're going to go right in around that double crochet. Hopefully you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. And we're going to do that front post double crochet. And now since we're at the end of the row, we want to go ahead and just do a regular double crochet into that chain stitch. So if you count up 1, 2, and 3, that's going to be where you're going to place that. You're going to just do a regular double crochet. We're not doing the front post on that one. Okay, because we want to make sure we're keeping nice straight edges. So now we're going to chain up 3 to move on to our very next row. This is going to be row 3 in this case. So now we're going to start doing back post double crochets. And that is so we keep everything looking the same on the front side. You're always going to be able to tell the wrong side of your work or the back side by the fact that it's going to have these ridges that are created from doing the front posts. So in the back post too, I'm sure. So because we're about to create another ridge. So I've got a chain 3 on my hook. I'm going to wrap my yarn, and I'm going to go ahead and go right here to this very next double crochet. That's where we're going to be working, because this chain 3 is counting as a double crochet coming off of this very first stitch. So we're going to go right here to this one right here. And now before we're going to be doing a back post double crochet. So before we were going in this direction, but this time we're going to have to take our hook and bring it back behind our work. And we're going to come into that same spot, but we're just coming in from a different direction. So there's the double crochet we're working. So we're going to go ahead and go out the other side. So we're reversing what we were doing before. And we've got our yarn wrapped and we're ready like we're doing a double crochet. So we're just going to be able to grab our yarn. And now we're going to pull it up through those from the back side. And we're going to be pulling it up through those spaces. And then we're going to complete out the double crochet. So I'm grabbing my yarn and pulling through 2. Grabbing my yarn, pulling through 2. So if you take a look, we're just doing it in reverse now. That's all that's happening there. So now, just like we've been doing, we're going to be skipping this very next double crochet. And now we're going to chain 1. This is the beginning of your repeat. We're going to skip the next double crochet and we're going to come here and we are going to work a double crochet into the top of each one of these stitches. So we've got 10 here, so we're going to do 10 double crochets just like normal. So we're going to go right here into the first one. We're going into the top of the stitch and working a double crochet. So we're going to repeat that now 9 more times. So this is my second. So we're just putting 1 double crochet into the double crochet from the previous row until we have a total of 10 of those. So I'm on number 4. Here's number 5. Here is number 6. Number 7. Number 8. Number 9. And number 10. And now we're going to chain 1 and we're going to start doing our back post double crochets again. So I'm going to, just like I did before, I'm going to be skipping this very first double crochet and I'm going to come to this one right here. So I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook just like I'm going to do a double crochet. And I'm going to come in from behind. So I'm going to go back here. I'm behind my work and I'm going to put my hook through that slot in between and I'm going to bring it over here beside to the other open spot and I'm just going to push everything towards the back. And that is probably the easiest way to show you guys. I'm going to grab my yarn and I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to grab my yarn, pull through 2, grab my yarn, pull through 2. So I'm completing out a double crochet, just doing it on the back side of this. So that's your back post double crochet. So I'm going to do a total, and on this row, I'm going to do this a total of 4 times. I'm going to be skipping the first stitch and skipping over the last stitch. So I'm only working these stitches here in between. So I'm going to wrap my yarn again. I'm going to go right here to the very next stitch. I'm going to work that one. So I'm going to go behind my work, come up through that little space in between the stitches. I'm going to come over here and just push everything back. So I'm going back out on the other side. And you can turn it like this where you can see it a little bit better. So now we're going to go ahead and finish out our double crochet. I'm going to grab my yarn and pull up a loop. So I'm just working around the stitch. I'm going to grab and pull through 2, grab and pull through 2. So it looks just like that. So now we're going to do that again. We're going to come right here and we're going to just basically go in between and push that stitch back. That way you guys can see what we're doing here. And it's easier for me. This is how I do them. It's a little fiddly at the beginning of the row, but it gets easier here in these larger sections. So I've got 3 done. So now I need to do that one more time. So I'm going to come right here to this stitch. So I'm going to go in behind. I'm going to put my hook over that stitch and just kind of push it to the back. And I'm going to go ahead and finish out the double crochet. Now I'm going to end my repeat right there. I'm going to chain 1 and I'm going to continue on doing double crochets into the 10 double crochets from the previous row. And then I'm going to work my 4 back post double crochets into this section right here from the previous row where we have our 6 double crochets. So, or front post double crochets, I should say. So you're going to continue on down in the same exact manner, and you're going to meet back up with me at the end of your row when you have these last few stitches to work into, right here at the end. That's where we're going to meet up. So you're going to go ahead and pause the video here, and then meet back up with me in just a little bit when you've finished out the rest of your row. All right, so we've finished out one of these sections where we have the 10 just normal double crochets, and we're going to chain one, and now we're at the end of the row. So if you take a look at your work, we're going to be skipping this very first stitch and going right here into the next, and we're going to work our back post double crochet. So I'm wrapping my yarn around my hook, I'm going right there in between those two stitches, and I'm coming out on the other side, just pushing everything towards the back. And then I'm grabbing my yarn, pulling up a loop, grabbing my yarn, pulling through two, grabbing my yarn, pulling through two. And now since we're at the very end of our row, we're going to go ahead and just do a regular double crochet into the top of the chain three. So we're going to count right here from the bottom up, 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to go into that third stitch and just do a normal double crochet. Just like that. So now we're going to chain up a total of 3, and we're going to turn our work. So now that we're over here on this side, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and chain 1, and that's going to count as our chain 1 space, and that's the repeat for this row. Actually, it might not be. I'll tell you well, no, this is the repeat. So chain 1 is the repeat, sorry. And we're going to go ahead and wrap our yarn around our hook. And now we're going to be doing front post double crochets, 1 in each and every stitch in this section. All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap our yarn around our hook, and we're going to identify those 10 stitches we're about to work in or work around. We're going to be doing front post double crochet. So right here's our very first one. Wrap your yarn, go right there beside it, and come up on the other side. And then you're going to grab your yarn, pulling up a loop, grab your yarn, pull through 2, grab your yarn, pull through 2. So now we're going to keep going with the same thing in each and every stitch for this row 4. So we're going to wrap our yarn, we're going to go right here to the very next stitch, we're going to insert right there beside it, come up on the other side, pulling up the stitch. We're going to grab our yarn and pull through 2, grab our yarn and pull through 2. Sorry, I said that wrong. But anyway, just do a double crochet, front post double crochet. All right, so I'm going to wrap my yarn around my hook. I'm going to insert and go right there around the very next double crochet. I'm going to grab and pull up a loop, grab and pull through 2, grab and pull through 2. So we're just continuing on with those same front post double crochets on this row. So you're just going to work all the way across until you've done all 10 of these stitches, and it's important that you make sure you get all 10. So just work on down, doing a front post double crochet around each and every one. So we're going to work, here is my, I believe, 6th, but we'll check my count. Yep, 6th. Now I'm going to do my 7th, going right there to the next stitch, and it's number 7. Go right here to the very next stitch. This is number 8. Right here to number 9. And here we are. This is the last one. That's number 10. And that is what you have so far. Now you're starting to see that 3D effect. So now we're going to chain 1. And now we're over here to our double crochet section where we've got these front post double crochets. So we're going to go ahead and wrap our yarn, and this time we're only going to be working in these 2 center stitches, or working around them. So we're going to skip this first front post double crochet, and we're going to go right here to the next, and we're going to do a front post double crochet. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now we're going to go right here to the very next stitch, and we're going to work a front post double crochet around that. And now we're going to be skipping this very last stitch, so this is the end of our repeat for this row. So you're going to chain 1 and continue on just as you did down here, And you're going to do the same thing all the way down to the end of your row, and we will meet back up at the end of your row and we will finish it out together. So you were going to go ahead and pause the video here, continue in the same exact way all the way down your row, and we'll meet back up at the end. So here is what your work is looking like so far. You're meeting back up with me at the end of your row. So we're going to go ahead and chain 1. I just did all those front post double crochets, the 10 of them. So we're going to have a chain 1, and then we are going to be skipping this very next front post double crochet, and we are going to work here into the top of the chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and we're just going to do a double crochet into the top of that chain 3. And that's going to end out our row. So now we're going to be able to move on up to row 5. And in row 5, we're going to be working more of the, it'll be back post double crochets this next time. And we're going to finish out row 5. But I'm going to go ahead and break the video up into a couple of different sections so that we are able to keep the quality okay. So please continue on to what's going to be part 2.